Welcome, financial professionals. I'm Jeremy Vidmar, Regional Vice President at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you joining the Brew for the first time, welcome. We like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. Today is International Country Music Day, Constitution Day, and National Pet Bird Day. So I love country music. I love the Constitution, and unfortunately, I do not have a pet bird. So I don't know how you draw all those together, but I'm sure there's a way. Today, we're continuing to celebrate September's Life Insurance Awareness lineup. I'm here for story time to share how early lessons shaped my passion for helping clients and why it's more relevant than ever today. Thanks for joining me today. I kind of just wanted to take this time. I was thinking about having my son come in and tell him stories and see if he'd fall asleep for a nap, but I think we have some good stories here that he probably would be just bored with. And I really want to start with how I got started in the business. So I was initially brought in from a captive company, and I had a particular region that I worked. There was about 600 families, 600 households that I was able to serve. I'd say about 300 of those were actually clients of mine. And I just bring that, I kind of highlight that because a lot of times when we're looking at insurance in particular, we think this isn't going to happen to my clients. It's not going to happen to me. I fortunately and unfortunately was able to see the fruits of the work that we do in the job that I initially took. And even backing up kind of one more step is, how did I get into the business? Now, there was a gentleman who reached out to me and instilled in me the need for, or the value of insurance. And unfortunately, he had an experience where he didn't think he was ever going to use it, but he got a call. Actually, it was a sheriff showed up at his front door, and unfortunately, his wife was killed by a drunk driver, and he utilized the life insurance. And so visiting with him, I started thinking about insurance, and kind of brought me to say, okay, well, maybe there's an opportunity for me here. Certainly, there's the financial success that you can have in the insurance business, and that's not something to shy away from. But I also found in the first year that I was in it, the value and meaning from some of the stories that I'm able to tell. So part of the being in a captive company, we were responsible for doing the death claims for all the policies that we inherited, as well as the policies that we wrote. So there was just a few stories here that I kind of want to go over that instilled in me the value and the responsibility that we have as professionals in this business. The first one I kind of want to start with was, it's pretty personal to me. It was a friend who, it was only a few weeks into the business, and we put a policy in place, or we did an application for her. She's the spouse of a good friend of mine who was a business owner. They had 4 little kids. I can't say that they were all that terribly excited about putting insurance on her, given the fact that she was the homemaker, and financially they really didn't see that there was a need. But they went through with the process, and she got the insurance. And unfortunately, about 2 years later, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at 30 years old. There was a lot of emotion, a lot of just practical things that were taken care of during that time, not least of which was her husband was trying to run a business while also taking care of his wife and their kids. And I can't say that the insurance was a huge piece of peace for them, but it was certainly meaningful when unfortunately the time came 3 years later that she passed away, and the claim was paid out. The next story that I have is, and I know I've told this story before, but there was a farmer, a client that I had, and he was reluctant to talk to me. I won his trust by helping him pull a calf during calving season when I was there on an appointment. And again, he was reluctant, but after I helped him pull the calf, he was trusting, and he said, you know what, let's give it a shot. We applied for a small policy. I can't remember if it was 250 or 500,000. And he was approved at preferred rates. And then 3 years later, there was a brain tumor. Fortunately, he's still battling that, but now he's uninsurable, and the coverage is more than of any value to him. The next one was so part of our training as in this captive company was to go through obituaries. That was one of the things that they asked us to do. And so looking through the obituaries every week for names that looked familiar, I saw the last name of a young man in his early 20s, and I looked in our CRM, and sure enough, there was a policy taken out by his father for $25,000. So I called his dad up and I said, I want to set up a time to do the claim paperwork so that we can get this processed, and just visited with him a little bit. And in the conversation towards the end, he said, that's fine, you can come out and do the claim, but I don't think we're going to be able to get the benefits. And I said, oh, why is that? And he said, well, my son struggled with mental illness, and unfortunately he committed suicide. In that conversation, I was able to reassure him that the benefits would be paid out. And so I went out to his house and we filled out the claim paperwork. And a couple weeks later, I was able to bring him a check. And through a lot of tears, he told me, Jeremy, I really appreciate you bringing this out. I'm going to use this money and go to the local high school and ask them to bring speakers in to talk about mental illness, so that hopefully every kid who might be struggling has the resources that they need to deal with it. So that was a very impactful situation. Obviously, it was devastating, but it instilled in me in these early events in my career the importance and the value and the responsibility that we have as financial and insurance professionals. The other thing that oftentimes when we visit with clients, there's hesitations or there's objections or there's speed bumps along the way. And it also hopefully will share with, hopefully that you're able to see that we should push past those initial objections. And one of those objections oftentimes is our own objection. It's the objection within ourselves where we say, I don't want to bring this up with my client for fear that they're going to not like it. They're going to have a bad experience of underwriting. They're going to think I'm trying to push a product. But again, the responsibility that we have as professionals is to bring it up and to push through those objections so that we know that we're doing everything that we can for our clients. As I wrap up, I'd like to remind you that today's brew and our entire library are shared on the brew page of our website at e4.insurance. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all the brewcasts. They're released every Wednesday. Next week, you get me again on the brew. It'll be released on Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll continue our September's lineup on life insurance awareness with Regional Vice President Rod Crandall, my colleague. He'll join me to share why stronger conversations lead to results and show you how to confidently engage and guide your clients forward. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week on The Brew.